Hey, I'm Jade Keogh.
And hello from me too, I'm Grace Seeley.
We both play for the Millwall Lionesses and are sponsored by the No One Likes Us talking team.
Why not sponsor one of our teammates just like they do?
To find out how, just email
kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
I'll say that again.
kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
In your email, say who you want to sponsor and we'll get back to you with the sponsorship details and what to do next.
This is all you have to do and it will help us to get back to where we belong. Thank you, guys.
Now, enjoy our Millwall fan show from No One Likes Us talking team.
Come on, Mir.
Hi, Bethany Warren here, and you've joined us for the weekly Our Millwall fan show with the Millwall No One Likes Us talking team, which is broadcast every Friday evening. Enjoy!
So, two strong defensive performances, one at the weekend against Reading and again at the Den on Tuesday night against Swansea. I'm your host, Gary Staff, and I'm back. With me this week, I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Patricia Maslin, Dave Hart and Ted Robinson.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Evening, Pat.
Good evening.
Evening, Dave.
Evening, Gary.
Evening, Ted.
Evening, Gary. Nice to have you back. How you feeling now, mate? What's been going on?
Yeah, not so bad. Basically, if anyone's wondering where I've been, over New Year and Christmas, I had a heart attack. Reason I'm mentioning it is because I want people to be aware that I'm 47. I'm young, still with a young family, and I was getting too stressed with life. And unfortunately, I then caught a really, really bad virus, which caused me to have a myocarditis heart attack, which, if you're in the business, you know it's not my heart attacking my body, it's my body attacking my heart. My gastroenteritis virus was so bad, it started attacking my heart, caused my troponin levels to go through the roof and caused me to be in hospital for a week and then about 5-6 weeks off work, and hence why I was off the show. But I'm back, I'm okay, but it's just given me a massive wake-up call to say, look after yourself out there and be careful, and just don't stress the small stuff. I know we're all Millwall fans who listen to this, but sometimes it's just easy just to take a deep breath and move on. So, before I get going, guys, I wanted also to say a big thank you to Alan Johnson for inviting me into his box on Tuesday night. I had a wonderful evening, and thank you for inviting me. So, Pat, first up, I'd like your thoughts on Reading. Did you see that one?
Well, you put a positive spin on it, your introduction with how well we're playing defensively.
Yeah, I did.
Says it all, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Let's be honest, it was such a boring game. And it's hard to criticise because we are in fifth and we can make the playoffs. But the football is so boring. I mean, I went on Twitter earlier and they're saying, what would you give this season if we make the playoffs out of 10? And I'd honestly give it 9. But then you've got to take points off because of the football is so poor. And last Saturday and Tuesday night, how we're fifth, I don't know, but thank God we are. The best point about Saturday was Andy Carroll and Creswell. I mean, that was brilliant. Creswell really showed him how to play football and really took him out the game. Apart from that, there's not a lot else to say. Great penalty take.
Did you hear the comment he said to Gary Rowett after it? I'm German.
Germans don't miss.
Yeah, I was going to score. Superb. Dave, on Swansea, Tuesday night, was you there?
Oh, Tuesday, I was there Tuesday night, yeah. It's one of these things, what Pat's saying, but, you've got injuries, we've got people that are literally knackered coming out week or 2 games a week most of the time. So these things are going to happen. And Swansea playing keep ball, 70% possession. It was a hard, ground out result. When we did get our toe on the ball, we played really good football, but we still needed that little bit of pace. With the break coming up soon, we get some of our players back, get a bit of fitness back. Playoffs, yes, please.
And Ted, thoughts on being 4 points clear after Norwich slipped up against our opponents on Wednesday night? Actually, thinking about that, I'm glad they got that point because it gives them a very different prospect going into our game on Tuesday night, because now they think, oh, and it opens the game up. They're probably going to come at us and maybe opens the game up a little bit more for us. But what do you think, Ted, with 9 to go?
Well, first up, I've got to say to Pat, I'll never get bored of winning football, Pat. I've got to be honest. It might not be the most exciting football, but I just thought the Reading game to start with, we got ourselves in front and we was just so comfortable. Yeah, the highlight of the game was without a doubt Charlie Creswell, who I believe has done a bit of an Harry Kane with us. He's grown up, because I could have seen at the start of the season Andy Carroll would have won that battle, if I'm honest. But in the last few months, Charlie Creswell has become one of our most reliable players and has grown up as a man. And he showed that with Andy Carroll, because if Andy Carroll hit him once, he hit him 3 times, which was brilliant to see. So, that was good. And I agree with Dave with Swansea. Their football's good, and to a certain extent. But that's if you want to sit there watching. What I would say to Pat is that's what made the game boring, because they just kept the ball. They didn't really create anything. They didn't really do anything. What I will say is in the respects, as you said at the beginning, the defensive side of it, we got it spot on both games. We are a difficult side. Nobody, if we get in them playoffs, there's not one of the other 3 that will be wanting to play us. That's the point. We're a consistently difficult side to beat. So I think we're in a good position at the moment. And the nice thing about it is, I think we've won games not playing at our best. I sort of agree with Dave. I'm hoping and praying that Oliver Burke didn't get a bad injury off of that guy Tuesday night that hit him at the end there, because he could quite easily have broken his ribs at 30 so the way he took him out.
I didn't see
because
what
I think
Oliver was right on the other side. What actually happened, Ted?
Oh, he went to make a run to shut the guy down, and I don't know if it was the left back or the left-sided centre half. As he's gone to run, he's deliberately stepped across him and literally elbowed him straight in the rib cage, and that's why he went down. And it was off the ball, and fortunately enough, it was right in front of me in where I sit. I could see it and see what happened. And what the point I was coming to, Gal, is Oliver Burke's pace is what we need. We need, whether he comes off the bench, I don't mind, or whether he starts, his pace is what gives us something different. And hopefully he hasn't got hurt, or he hasn't, he was just winded, because I think Oliver Burke is going to be a big player for us for the rest of the season, in the way that he can change what we do,
Talking about that, though, when he's coming on at the end, though, Ted, do you not think, why are we taking off Fleming? Why are we taking off Bradshaw at that point? Why are we keeping them 2 for the option as well, with the pace as well? I'm a bit confused by that sometimes.
We're waiting to the 70th minute each game.
Yeah.
I mean, has he got an alarm clock in that dugout? 70 minutes, I've got to put someone on.
Well, I've got to be honest, Pat, and this is me talking at half time on Tuesday night, and it might not be what people like to hear that, but I actually thought he should have took Bradshaw off on Tuesday night at half time and put Burke down the middle, only because that fella has run himself into the ground for us in the last few games, and God knows what else, and we're going to need him. I know there's time coming up, but he's going to go away with Wales now. He could be playing for Wales, and you can't blame the guy for that. But I just thought in the style of the game and how it was being played, he wasn't getting much joy against the 2 centre halves when the ball went up to him, if it was in the air or anything. And he was doing a lot of chasing around and just running himself into the ground again. And I just thought Berkey being that little bit quicker would put him under pressure a little bit quicker. And I think, that in the second half, he changed it a little bit. And like you said, we were talking earlier, Gary, in the change of the formation, they got pressured him quicker in the second half and higher up the pitch. And basically, that's where we got our 2 goals in that time. But I think Oliver Burke's a real important player for us for the rest of the season. I do agree with you, Pat, to a certain extent. I've always thought you should change or do substitutions when you believe the time is right, and not just say we go 70 minutes and then we make our changes. If you think there's something not quite happening or it's not quite right out there, and to me, it doesn't matter if it's 5-10 minutes into the game. If a change needs to be made, then make the change. You know,
exactly. If it's not working, it's not working. You should
no,
change. And also, it puts the opposition off a bit. You've changed your formation, you've changed your way of playing all of a sudden, and that's when your goal should come, like they did on Tuesday.
Well, you shouldn't let the opposition get comfortable. And there were, at times, Swansea were a bit comfortable in the sense that we just funneled back, especially after they got the one goal. And, you know, we went into that same old sort of mode of defending on our box rather than pushing up. You know, it gets a little bit frustrating at that point because we're inviting things on, you know, and I'm never a great lover of the bringing Hutchinson on and going to a back three at that sort of time in the game. But if it feels like it needs it halfway through the game, fine. But with that last few minutes to go, I know what the reason behind it is, but Christ, it didn't argue. I don't know about your art, Gal, but it might starts going, I'll tell you.
Indeed. Right. Before we listen to Debbie Julians, here is Paul Owens from Fisher FC.
Hi, I'm Paul, a Millwall and Fisher FC supporter. There's always been strong links between our clubs, and as such, Fisher FC would like to remind Millwall season ticket holders and supporters club members that entry to watch Fisher is just a £5 if you show your card at the gate.
We will take a break there and listen to Debbie Julians talking about our sponsors, G&M Motors.
Our Millwall Fan Show is sponsored by family business G&M Motors of Gravesend and Meopham in Kent. They are Millwall fans too. They've been Honda dealers for over 50 years. At G&M Motors Gravesend, you can purchase a new Honda. At both Gravesend and Meopham, they have a combined range of over 150 quality used cars and ex-demonstrators to suit all budgets and lifestyles. They also offer a comprehensive range of repair and maintenance services to ensure your vehicle stays reliable, safe, and retains a higher value with trust. G&M Motors, Gravesend and Meopham are dear friends of the Julians family. From Lenny to Debbie, and also our Millwall Fan Show.
I'm your host, Gary Staff, and with me I have the No One Likes a Talking team of Pat, Dave and Ted. Many thanks to our sponsors, G&M Motors of Gravesend and Meopham. So, our first guest this evening originates from north of the border in Banff, Scotland. He started his football career in Scotland playing for Keith and then moved down to Colchester, where we crossed paths with one of our own, Phil Coleman. He then moved on to Millwall, where he played over 100 times for the Lions, scoring 35 times. He left Millwall August 85, going to Reading, with moves to Brighton and a couple of other moves followed before he hung up his boots in May 2000. Welcome to the show, Kevin Bremner.
It's great to be back.
Thanks, Kevin. Good to speak to you.
Evening, Kevin.
Evening, everybody.
Before I start, Kevin, and hand you over to those three, we have a friend of the show who knows you well. I've just mentioned him, Phil Coleman, and he's given me one or two stories about you, which the questions. But the one I was most intrigued about: how did you get the nickname Mad Max?
Well, on my 21st birthday, I got a big leather coat from a group of girls who quite liked me, and I actually looked a little bit like Mad Max of the films on the cinema, and because I was such an idiot on the pitch and off the pitch, I was nicknamed Mad Max. Just because of that leather jacket, nothing to do with my antics.
Are you still in touch with the girls, Kevin?
You what?
You still in touch with the girls? Are they still buying your clothes?
No. It was actually a 21st birthday present. That's what it was. The leather jacket.
Nice. I wish I'd
They,
did that for me.
they clubbed together and got me a full length leather jacket.
Lovely.
Hello,
It's just-
Kevin. Oh,
All right.
sorry.
It's okay. Go,
Hello,
Pat.
Right, thank you. Hello, Kevin. It's Pat here. Back in February '83, when you joined us, we were 10 points from relegation. Yet Lincoln City wanted you, and they were searched for promotion. So why did you come to us?
Oh, why would I not come to Millwall?
Well, I know, but you can tell us you.
Oh, it was all down to George Graham, really. I mean, so he wanted me, and I quite like the moving to Millwall anyway. Phil had told me it was a great club to play for, so I chose Millwall rather than Lincoln. I made a few dodgy decisions throughout my career, but certainly joining Millwall wasn't one of them.
Well, what did you think of us before you came? You must have had an impression of what the club is.
Oh well, I'd played against Millwall before that, so I knew what to expect. But no, I gave the fans what they want. Somebody was maybe I think George Graham says it well in his book. He says, and as for Kevin Bremner, not the most naturally gifted player in the world, but he used to make me sweat just watching him. which in a roundabout way is a compliment.
Certainly is from him.
Yeah. It was a great run in. I mean, say after George got the team all sorted, I mean, say he took in 9 new players in the space of 3 or 4 weeks, really, and he took us away to no, it wasn't Bishop Abbey. Yeah, Bishop Abbey is beside Reading, isn't it? Over that way.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
He took us over there for a long weekend. Told us how he wanted us to play, and told us what we had to do and what we didn't have to do. And from then on in, we had 15 games left, and we only lost one of that games. Was away to Oxford. And they won the 3rd division by a country mile that year, and they beat us 2-1 up at Oxford. But it was close. We almost got a draw out of it, but that's the only team that beat us in that last 15 games.
You've sort of just nicked Dave's question by answering that.
That's okay.
Dave, say something else.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about what Jules did to in that great escape, but Phil mentioned that Ray Harford had a big influence on your career. How did you cross paths with Ray?
Well, Ray was assistant manager at Colchester when I first joined, and I was what you would call a 23-year-old rookie. I'd been playing football all my life, but Ray Hartford built the professional footballer that I become, because he'd take me before training, he'd take me at training, and he'd take me after training. I'd go in earlier in the morning. I'd do my weights, my press ups, my bodies, working on my physical side of my body, which Ray made a marvellous job of. And then in the afternoons, he'd take me for extra training, especially, I mean, say, before I came to Colchester, I wouldn't say I'd scored a lot of goals in my head. But if you look through all my career now, after that, I think at least over a third of the goals I scored was with my head. And that was down to Ray Harford. And all the young lads who used to have to trail over to the garrison over at Colchester on any afternoon. and the reserve goalkeeper, Bobby Hamilton, he had to put up with me knocking him over quite a few times.
Yeah, and obviously the result of that, we got the benefit of it as Millwall fans.
Yeah, I mean, so you take the two games before the end. I think it was Bristol Rovers, and who was the other one? I think it might have even been Wigan. Was it Wigan? I scored two great headers, both from Anton's cross. Well, one was an Anton free kick, and I think the other one was an Anton corner. But two belters of headers at home at Millwall at the old Den, and that was down to Ray Hartford. That was. He made me the player I was. I had the attributes, but he honed them, and as I say, practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
Hi, Kevin. It's Ted here.
How you doing, Ted?
I'm fine, mate. I'm fine. I don't often give compliments out here, mate, but I'm going to throw one at you because when people say to me, "What's the typical type of Millwall player that you like?" and they run through the positions, I say in defence it was Barry Kitchener, in midfield it was Terry Ernock, and up front was Kevin Bremner. Because, as you said, you gave Millwall fans everything that we want, and so that's credit to you, mate. So. I'll come over all emotional. I don't know why I said that, but there you go. But that's a fact. But yeah, we got our friend and our companion George Lampy mentioned that you was on a Betfred advert, and I think I remember seeing this a few years ago. So tell us about that, mate.
Oh, that was 2014. I've actually, if you look on Facebook, I put it on Facebook. How I was dressed that day.
I did actually see it, Kevin, and I thought that's ironic because they've got a question about it today.
I see you liked it, Gary.
Yeah.
So you can tell them what I look like, Gary.
Yeah.
I can't even believe.
I see it, Kevin, and I didn't like it.
I can't even believe how well I look. But as I said, that was 9 years ago.
How did you get involved with that then, Kevin? Who asked you to do that?
Ask somebody standing not very far from you.
All right.
It was through what's her name again? She was I've forgotten her name. But there was loads of Millwall players went up to London that day for an audition for the Betfred advert, and I just so happens. I tell you who else came as well. Russell Osman from Ipswich. He was there.
Oh right.
He was auditioning for it as well. But there was quite a few Millwall boys there as well, and just so happens that I got the part. And the other fella was Mike. He was well, not a bodybuilder, but he's got muscles in places I didn't even have places. And he didn't look it, but he was absolutely ripped. And he played a little bit of football himself, but he played for Bromley for a while, many moons ago. But they picked him and myself, and on I think it was the 23rd of July, 2014. Well, I think 2014 in July, 23rd of July, and that was just before the season started. And it aired on the first day of the Premier League that season.
I remember seeing that, Kevin, and I thought
on
EastEnders
channel. In fact, I was at one of the Millwall games, and it was on the telly in the lounges. I came up to a Millwall game. 2014, and it just so happens it was on the tellies in the lounges, and the advert was shown on the telly in the lounges at Millwall at the game I was at.
I've just sent it to all their phones, Kevin, so they now see what you look like that day.
Yeah, you look like he's just walked out of Minder.
Oh dear.
I wouldn't have minded that job either.
Dear.
I was Minder. I was Minder to the players who played alongside me.
Yeah. I'll tell Phil.
No, Phil's a good lad. And Nicky.
Was you ever asked to do anything else, Kev, after that?
No. Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. I'm still trying to remember that girl that works. It works round about Millwall. She got me into it. Oh, Sam Fox.
What, the page 3 bird?
No.
Where's your mind going here, Kevin? Steady.
No, it's Sam. What the hell's her second name? She was about Millwall at the time. Oh,
because George was on here earlier. He's dropped off now.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Hey,
I've forgotten Sam's name.
Dear. Pat, have you got any more questions for Phil?
Kevin.
Sorry, Kevin. Right, going back to George Graham.
Yes.
You have the honour of the first player he ever bought for money.
That's right.
And at Millwall. And he was also major in your departingness. And I know you didn't want to go. Can you tell us about that?
It was quite simple. I think I've told this story before, that I'm on my way to Reading. I phoned Theo from, God rest his R.I.P. Theo. But I phoned Theo from, there was no mobile phones back then, so I phoned him from Paddington, one of the red boxes, telephones boxes, and said, "Get Josh to change his mind. I don't want to go to Reading."
Oh.
And no, he wouldn't change his mind. So after Reading, I went.
That's sad.
It's funny how it's changed, though, Kevin. In this day and age, you'd have probably had a shout at changing his mind.
Well, George had his own ideas what was going on, and you can't knock what he's ever done before and since. So it's no skin off of his nose, and it's no skin off of mine. I went to Reading, became third division champions. Went down to Brighton, got promoted with them. Brighton, went to Peterborough, got promoted with Peterborough. Went up to Dundee, got a first division medal with Dundee. So swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, all well.
Didn't have a bad career, Kevin.
Phil Coleman also mentioned, Kevin, that you formed a great partnership with another. Well, we class him as a Millwall boy and a legend in a sense, John Lyons at Colchester. He was obviously a Millwall player also. What was your memories of John? Because I remember him as being some player.
He was a very good football player, but he was also a very, very tricky. in the changing room. No, he was a good lad. It was such a shock to me what happened to poor John, R.I.P. But no, he always had a smile. Normally, had a smile on his face and always had a joke to tell. And that's how I remember John.
He looked like the sort of player who was a joy to play alongside as well, Kev.
Yeah, he was. What made me laugh, because he was Welsh champion at everything. if somebody said he could play the banjo, he says, "Oh, I was the Welsh champion that did play the banjo." I tell a lie. It was North Wales champion. It was North Wales. It was always North Wales champion, because he was up the Wrexham area, wasn't he?
He was, yes, yeah.
But no, John was a laugh a minute, and I was really upset when I heard what happened to him.
We did me and Phil did about a year ago now. We did a like a half hour, 45-minute discussion about John, and Phil spoke very highly of him and all the times back at the day. But it's prominent then, it's prominent now that you never know what's going on in someone's head, do you?
No,
unfortunately,
no,
you don't.
It's a shame about John Lyons, because my memories of John was that he had a wand of a foot on a free kick. You talk about a free kick specialist. John was that.
Yeah,
he could really take a free kick and 9 times out of 10 score.
Dave, I think he was the original David Beckham, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
the way he took a free kick.
He'd have been North Wales champion at taking free kicks as well.
Oh, dear. Yeah, dear. So, unfortunately, on a slight somber note, but great memories of a good lad, John. I'm going to say goodbye, Kevin. We will get you back on again shortly, as there's so much more we can probably speak about those couple of seasons in your career. But before we let you go, I don't know if you've done your homework, but we're up against Huddersfield next at the Den. Obviously, we have a 4-point gap at the bottom of the playoffs. Do you think we'll try and extend that at the weekend?
I think they're having a great run. The players they've got, considering, but I've got a funny feeling they're going to at least make the playoffs.
I can't disagree, and I don't think anyone in this panel will disagree with that.
No,
James, guys.
Not at all.
Here's the thing, though. Who would we like in the final if we got to the final? Well,
Luton.
Hey, if they get to the final, that will do. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they play in the final as long as they get there.
That's true.
Indeed. Well, to be honest, we've had better luck in the first division playoffs, haven't we? We haven't had much luck in the championship, so maybe that's got to change soon as well. Mm-hmm. But absolute pleasure, Kevin. Thanks for coming on the show. It's brilliant to talk to you once again. As we said, there's still more to explore. All the best to you and your family, and we'll get you back on in the not too distant future. Thanks, Kevin.
Worries.
Goodbye.
Cheers, Ed.
Thanks, Kev. Bye.
Cheers, Kevin. Cheers.
All right.
Yeah,
Bye,
thanks, Kevin.
everybody.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Talking about our Welsh connections, congratulations from us and our listeners to Millwall Community Trust Ambassador Tom Bradshaw, who received his Wales call-up this week. Tom has scored 14 goals now for the Lions so far this season, which included 2 hat-tricks against Watford and Sheffield United, respectively. I'm your host here, and with me I have the No One Likes a Talking team of Pat, Dave and Ted. Let's hear from Ellis Barr.
Ellis here. Thank you for watching my videos. Now to hear what the Millwall Lionesses and Romans have been up to, and to hear who is next up for Gary Rowett and the Lions. Come on, Millwall!
Thanks, Ellis.
This is Jeff Burnige reporting on Millwall Lionesses in what should be a big week for the girls. The postponement of the Lionesses' first team match with New London Lionesses put the spotlight once again on their under-18s, who comfortably defeated league leaders Ascot United in a game they had to win if they want to land a historic treble, the league and 2 cups. This result puts them level on points with a very strong Ascot side, who have an academy set up. There are 5 games to go. A goal from the brilliant Chloe Bryan after 16 minutes settled the nerves, and Millwall never looked back. Skipper and centre-forward Ellie Hinckley made it 2 on 29 minutes, and fit again Kiana Dillon-Bent completed the scoring in the second half. This Sunday, the girls are in the semi-final of the Capital Women's Cup, a competition for senior teams. They already have one final to look forward to, namely the London FA Under-18 Girls' Cup. In the Capital Cup, they face Impact FC, a club from the Greater London League Division 2, for a place in the final. They will do so without 5 eligible players who will figure in the first team league game away to Fulham. the latest of whom, Ellen Napper, has now established herself in the senior side midfield after playing all season in the under-18s. First team manager Jack Wheeler is looking for a continuation of their recent return to form against the Fulham side, who play their games at the historic Motspur Park Stadium, which now forms part of the Premier League's training ground. The kick-off for this is at 2 p.m. on Sunday at Motspur Park Stadium.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hello everybody, it's Paul Loading over at the Millwall Romans with a quick update. Just a quick mention of the Millwall first team. What some cracking results they're having, up into 5th in the table. We're cheering them on all the way to hopefully get automatic promotion or at least a playoff position. So yeah, really, really good stuff from them. We're actually coming down to the Den this Saturday to watch the Huddersfield game. Really looking forward to that. So hopefully we'll pick up another 3 points. So with Millwall Pride on a break, the Romans headed over to East London, right next to the West Ham Stadium, to play Stonewall. We haven't played them this year as yet. They did draw with us in the last game of the season, which meant we didn't win the league in the end. We lost to them in the first leg of last season. Their team has changed somewhat, and playing on grass never really suits us. The pitch was a bit bobbly, but we scored quite early on, and I think that really settled us into the game. It wasn't the prettiest of football, but we still managed to try and keep what our game is, playing it out from the back. Say it wasn't the prettiest afternoon of football, but we managed to win 6-0. Just a quick mention to our captain and striker, Jay Lemonius, who has been had a couple of knocks this season, but was on fine form at the weekend and managed to bag himself a hat-trick. Just a quick mention as well, in the London Unity League top goal scorers league table, it's our very own James Baker that is leading that on an impressive 15 goals, followed by Jay even after his hat-trick on 11. Looking forward, say a few of us will be at the Den on Saturday to watch Millwall Huddersfield. Hopefully it'll be a really, really good game. I'm going to stay positive, and I'm going to say that it's going to be a Millwall 3-0 victory. Pride team are playing on Sunday at St Paul's. It's a 1:30 kickoff. They are playing against East End Phoenix, the East End based team. So yeah, Pride over at St Paul's on Sunday.
Thanks, Paul. Dave, it's a big one this Sunday over at Motspur Park. Am I right in saying that Motspur Park was used in the 1936 Olympics? Might be wrong. Can the recent form of the Lionesses continue against Fulham? We owe them one, don't we?
Yeah, I certainly do. I mean, I wasn't around in 1936, so I can't really comment on that. But,
George.
Yeah.
George, where are you?
But the Lionesses have had that blip that all teams seem to have, but have recently picked up the pace. And I can't see any reason why they can't go all the way this year, and it all starts at Motspur Park on Sunday, because we owe them one.
We sure do. Ted, looks like silverware's coming for the Lionesses under Paul Loading and the Romans to add the League Cup to the five-a-side London Cup. God, so many acronyms in here. And the GFSN Cup semi is soon against doubling at St Paul's. It all bodes well for these sides, doesn't it, mate?
Yeah, I mean, we all know in football, momentum's a wonderful thing. And I say the Lionesses, with the influx of the under-18 girls that are coming through, the under-18s are outstanding. They seem to be the team, if you know what I mean, for the girls at the moment. But that only bodes well for the Lionesses themselves, because as you can see, they're beginning to filter into the Lionesses, and all's going well on that front. And the Romans are, as Paul was just saying there, with the two goal scorers, up there in the top part of the charts, let's hope it is a good season full of silverware for both of them, and we get to see them march around the pitch at some point or the other with the cups that I'm sure they're going to win.
Fantastic. And Pat, with our Lionesses sponsor game on the 26th of March, which I will be at, versus Dulwich Hamlet, so a great local derby. This time, the meet time is 12 p.m. to get our picture done with Grace Seeley and Jade Keogh, our sponsor players, and to get our signed shirts. It's 1:30 kickoff. Will you be going? It'd be good to get a video of you and your history from the Lionesses.
Oh, I hope to get along. I mean, it should be a nice day. I won't promise, but I hope to get there. What Ted was saying, got your name right this time. What Ted was saying about the under 18s Lionesses. I mean, because they are so good, that's obviously going to improve the seniors. But I just want to mention their under 14s. Now, they were crowned Junior Premier League champions
Wow.
on the 4th of March. And it seems to have bypassed everyone. I mean, we did put it in the programme, but I just want to say a massive congratulations to the under 14s.
Well done. Well mentioned, Pat. So let's hope all our teams get the success they desire, as Ted said and Pat said and Dave says there as well. Sorry, bringing George into it. He's not even on the show.
Goes to George.
I know.
He's voyeuring.
The last game before the international break, which I dare say our team need, we face Huddersfield at the Den. As I mentioned earlier, they currently sit second from bottom of the championship with the maestro that is Neil Warnock in charge. He's picked up 5 points since taking over the helm, and probably his best result was on Tuesday night with a 1-1 draw against playoff chasing Norwich. They come to us needing points. How do we think the Lions will fare? I'll start with you actually first, Ted, even though it's the way on the sheet.
Well, let's face it, we all know what Neil Warnock brings to any football side, and that's a desire to fight for everything, and Huddersfield will. They haven't been particularly good, though. I did watch some of the Norwich game the other night, and Norwich missed their chances. But, you know, you could see the Neil Warnock effect because they was hanging in there and they was giving it a go. So I don't doubt, you know, he loves it at Millwall, Neil Warnock. You hear him talk about Millwall as it's a place he wants to come and play at, you know, or get his team playing at. So he will have them wound up. They ain't going to be any pushovers, I don't think, because there don't seem to be any pushovers in this game. I'm dreaming of a 3-0 win for Millwall because my heart desires a 3-0 win where I can just sit back and, you know, I'd like Millwall to do what Blackpool done to QPR the other night, where Blackpool was 4-0 up at half time and I could just sit back and relax and enjoy the second half. But
and also, Ted, that would massively help our goal difference and put us above.
Of course, yeah. At this stage of the season, and looking how tight everything is, every goal counts. Obviously, the win comes first, but every goal counts, doesn't it, Gal? So
it does.
But I'm quietly confident we will get there on Saturday, and I think we're going to have a 2-0 win.
Pat, do you agree with Ted?
That's it. Bring me in a second. Yeah, I mean, sorry to say I do.
I mean, not again. Twice in one night.
Won our last 3 and 5, where Huddersfield have, you know, not won in their last 5. I mean, all stats mean we should be beating them 3-0, but you know they held Norwich to a draw. It happens, and it's typical Millwall to go and lose to one of the bottom clubs, isn't it? But I'm sticking my neck out, and I think it's going to be a 3-1 victory.
I'll take that. And Dave, what do you think?
Well, as I said, Ted Wallace said exactly what I was going to say. I would have loved to see a 3-0. I can feel a 3-0 coming on, but I'll settle for 2-0.
Fair enough. And I personally, I want it to be comfortable. Like Ted says, I'll go something like 3 or 4-0. Even if we can get 2-3-0 up by half time, get comfortable. Because I dare say, if Swansea had maybe got an equaliser, I think we had it in us at that point to go and get that third, go and get a fourth if needs be. I think we are not killing ourselves because we've got such a run in. And I was working out the other day, I think we've only played like 15, 16 players in the last 3 or 4 weeks, which is ridiculous. Maybe 1 or 2 more, but it's still very, very small when you see what the size of some of the squads are.
The thing I was going to say, the thing with the international break coming up, you can look at it 2 ways. All of us feel, I'm sure, that they look like they need a rest to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Saville and Tom Bradshaw won't get it because they go away on international duty, but the rest of them will get a rest, which we think and hope will be well. But we got a bit of momentum going. We're winning football matches.
Yeah.
We're on a good run. And, you know, sometimes things like that might work against you. But listen, I do think it should. I mean, I don't know whether they are, but if I was the Millwall chairman, And Mr. Berrison, I love you dearly, and I think you're the best chairman we've ever had. But I'd put my hand in my pocket and take these boys away for a few days' rest.
Maybe he is. That's why he's here. He was here on Tuesday night, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's here
Failing that, George will have to put his hand in his pocket.
Oh, dear.
Don't put your hopes on that.
Well, I'll go 4-0 anyway, so I'll take that. We'll take a break there, and we will listen to Bethany Warren talking about the Millwall Community Trust sponsorship and donations.
The work of the Millwall Community Trust makes a big difference for people in Lewisham, Southwark and North Kent. Times are getting tougher, and to help them make a difference, you can help too, by making a donation. Give a one-off donation or a monthly amount. Your support is crucial in raising vital funds for their work, or by fundraising for them. If you are running, swimming, cycling, cooking, dancing, parachuting or anything else, why not do it for the Millwall Community Trust? Interested? Then either email inquiries@millwallcommunity.org.uk or phone 0207 740 0503. I'll say that again. Email inquiries@millwallcommunity.org.uk or phone 0207 740 0503. Thanks if you can.
I'm your host, Gary Staff, and with me, I am the No One Likes It Talking team of Pat, Dave and Ted. If you can do any of those things that Bethany mentioned, it will go a long way to support the Millwall Community Trust in supporting the needs of the community. Our final guest tonight could be described as having Millwall Football Club in her genes. Her grandfather was a Millwall chairman back in the 70s. Her father followed in her father's footsteps as a director and was chairman himself when he succeeded Theo Pepitas. He also chaired the Millwall Lionesses too. Without further ado, let's welcome Hester Burnige. Hello, Hester.
Hi, everyone. Nice to speak to you.
Hello, Hester.
Evening, Hester.
Evening, Hester.
Hi.
Evening.
Hi.
Hester, welcome to the studio. It's your first time on the show, and before I pass you over to these guys, if I could call them that, can you tell us how you become a Millwall supporter? And also, I know you have a long-standing friendship with one of our panellists, Debbie Julians, who's currently sunning herself in the Caribbean somewhere when she should be doing the show. God knows what that's all about. And watching Millwall. And she mentioned a story about the last game of the Den. But first off, tell us how, well, we obviously know the family connections. And then if there's any mention about that last game at the Old Den as well.
Yeah, I think you've answered part of my question already. But yeah, it was never in doubt that when me and my sister were born, that we would be Millwall fans, of course. I think we're third generation, as you said, but it's possible that we're fourth generation Millwall fans.
Oh.
Grandad Burnige grew up in Bermondsey and around Bricklayers Arms, so I don't know if he might have been to the Den, but it's possible, so I'm claiming it. So yeah, it was never in any doubt who we would support. But also, not just the men's team. During my childhood, I went with my dad to watch various reserves, youth team, and definitely loads of Lionesses games as well. So a lot of my childhood heroes were people like Lou Waller and Pauline Cope as well. So I thought they were brilliant when I was a kid, being a fan in the 80s. Brilliant. I loved watching the Lionesses, and I think Dad's support for them was really ahead of his time, actually. So I think he really set a good example, and obviously being a Millwall family has really framed a lot of my life and has taught me a lot. I think I've probably spent as much time standing with him on muddy touchlines as I have in directors' boxes, actually. So it's important to recognise that, and I think it's he put a lot of effort into it, and it's not always a business that loves you back. So I think he should take some credit for the fact that we're all still going as a family.
Fantastic.
Hi, Hester. Dave here.
Hi, Dave.
When you look at when you look at our team, you can see that we've got some talent. So, which player impresses you the most?
At the moment, I think we have got a bit of talent. Yeah, definitely. I can see that there's definitely been an improvement over the last season or so. I think that's been quite enjoyable to watch. I think at the moment I'm enjoying I quite like watching Murray Wallace, actually. I like defenders. I like defence, so I like to see him from that perspective. But also someone that can push up a little bit, make a few runs, and actually get a few goals occasionally. Although not so much recently. Now we've actually got some real strikers in the side. But yeah, not so much recently goals wise. But yeah, I quite enjoy watching Murray Wallace at the moment, I think.
Yeah, I can go along with you with that because my favourite player when I first started going was Barry Kitchener. So yeah,
of course.
Hello, Hester. It's Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Hello. You'd have seen a few games over your time at Millwall. Probably too many to remember. But what was your most memorable and why?
Okay. Right, great question, and I've put some thought into this one. I know it's really easy, and I'm probably going to still give an obvious answer, but it's easy to mention the big games, and I was lucky enough to be at Ferencváros away. Wow. I've been to Wembley, old and new, to see Millwall, which is brilliant. Old Trafford, obviously, and then Cardiff for the cup final run. Lots of really memorable occasions like that. And I reckon I've been to away games at about 40 different away grounds, which is not bad going, I reckon. But I think the two memorable games for me, both are connected to Neil Harris, which is probably not that original. But obviously his comeback goal away to Watford, 2002, obviously a really emotional occasion. Everybody in the ground recognised what that meant. We were allowed to celebrate that a little bit longer than we might normally do by the referee. Tony Warner sprinting the length of the pitch, all of that kind of stuff. It was absolute magic. So that was a good one. But I think also Neil Harris related was that away to Crewe Alexandra when he became that top scorer. It's memorable because I was sitting with Dad in the exec box bit or whatever it was of the ground. So our fans were opposite us. And when he got that goal, everybody absolutely erupted. All the Millwall fans and whoever was sitting with us in the exec bit as well. We were absolutely on our feet, really celebrating it. And there was a woman sitting behind us from Crewe who didn't know what was going on, and she didn't realise why we were all celebrating this goal quite so much. And I actually took great delight in turning around and telling her exactly why we were celebrating that particular goal. She was quite quiet after that one, but we continued to celebrate for a little bit longer. I was living in Liverpool at the time, actually. So I lived in Liverpool for 10 years. And so one of the away games that was really easy to get to was Crewe. So I was really happy to be there for that one as well. And I think that's why I've done those, a decent number of away grounds, maybe not quite so many as some, but yeah, I think it's because being based in Liverpool for 10 years, it's quite easy to get around the north of England. So yeah, that's probably a sentiment, definitely a memorable game. But I think one other game I have to mention was watching my own dad play in a staff versus fans game on the pitch at the Den about 25 years ago. Now that is a memorable moment. So there's that one too.
Hi, Esther. I don't think
he'll thank me for mentioning it
though. No, he won't. Oh dear. If he's like with a football, he's like what he's like on computers. It could have been quite a mess, I should imagine, Esther, when he was playing.
Not dissimilar. Yeah, not dissimilar.
Hi Esther. It's Ted here. Anyway.
Hi Ted.
Hi Esther. I had a phone call today from Debbie. Actually.
Yes.
And she said to me, you obviously Debbie and your friends and whatever. But I don't know whether she was ringing me to tell me that or to tell me the fact that she was laying around a pool with a sex in the beach, she said to me in her hand. And that worried me at first, but I understand it's a cocktail. But
if we were friends before, she's not a friend of mine anymore, having rubbed it in like that. So I don't want to know about whose life the beach is. Jealous, very jealous.
Yeah, but what she was saying to me, and it did fascinate me, because obviously we know and love your dear dad. He's a wonderful man. But behind every man's normally a better woman. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about your mum, because I understand she was as passionate about Millwall as your dad. And let's face it, she had a lot to put up with your dad, I'm sure. But, for her to be a part of it, they just can have a little word about her.
Yeah, so Mum passed away many years ago now, actually. It doesn't feel quite so long ago, but it is. And I think a lot of people will recognise that. She was from Liverpool. She was an Evertonian by birth. though not a fanatical family, not quite on the level as the Burniges for Millwall. But she was, adopted. She took to Millwall really well, and I think being from Liverpool, you get that real sense of justice and injustice, and you get a sense of, and you can see right through lazy journalism that makes assumptions about a particular group of people. So like Millwall fans and like people from Liverpool. And I loved living in Liverpool. It's a great city, and I won't hear a bad word against it, but I'm allowed to say them, but no one else is. But I think that there was definitely occasions where she, I was speaking to Debbie about this. I believe there was an occasion when my mum climbed up the steps from the director's box to speak to the people behind in the press box, about a great stuff that's happening at Millwall. So this is what you need to be printing in your newspapers, not the lazy journalism that you normally go for. And I just think, yeah, absolutely, that was my mum through and through. She had she wasn't a brash person or a loud person, but she would have a real sense of justice. And I can really imagine her giving a few choice words to the gentlemen of the press, because undoubtedly it was gentlemen or men anyway. And I think she really would have said, this is the Millwall that you don't talk about in the papers. And I think that's dead right. So go for you, Mum.
Superb.
And how did she put up with your dad? Please tell me.
Well, who knows? It's a mystery.
A mystery. Oh, bless him.
No, she was a very loyal person, quietly loyal, and she knew just how important Millwall was to Dad, and I think she absolutely wanted to stand by that. And I think in those sort of subtle ways, I think she enjoyed it, definitely. It wasn't always easy. There's highs and lows in football as a fan, as a director, and as an owner, or whoever you are. It's all relative. If your team's winning or losing, you feel it. But I think Mum was really loyal and really, she grew to be a really quietly passionate fan, I think. So, yeah.
That's great. Now, coming back to the day, Hester, do you think we make the playoffs?
Well, I mean, there's a chance we're going to stay in the playoffs. We are currently there as I speak. I think we've got a great chance of making the playoffs yet. But, as a bit of pessimism always creeps in when I talk about Millwall, and I can't help it. So I don't want to be too negative, but I do think I don't think we'd win the playoffs. I think we might well get there, but I think there's a few other teams that just got that little bit more than we have at the moment. But, if there's a chance, anything can happen in football, as they say. So we've got to give it a go. And, for goodness sake, it would be quite an adventure for us to get into the Premier League. And it would certainly be a financial boost to the club. So, and above all, I'd actually quite just enjoy getting a bit more TV coverage of Millwall as well, to be honest. So it would be great. But I don't think we'll quite make it this season. But as we said earlier, we've seen improvements in the team. So you never know. Onwards and
Hester,
upwards.
could you imagine VAR at the Den? That would go down well.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me started on that. Honestly, I spend a lot of time whinging and moaning about that. My partner is a rugby fan. He's not a football fan at all. And so we've got similar conversations going on about rugby and about having to go up to the TV and the fourth official all the time. And honestly, I can't stand it.
Do you think, on that note, I was talking to my father-in-law last night. He thinks there should be more around respect for referees, etc. But they're making the comparison between rugby. Two things: players should be sugar scared of referees like they are in rugby, and also the VAR should be more vocal. So a conversation between the referee and the VAR box should be audible to the whole crowd, so everyone knows what's going on, like at cricket as well.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said for that, in the sense that I've learned a lot about different sports through the TV coverage and listening to those decisions and the conversations that referees had. And I think it does help. But what I don't think VAR helps, it doesn't feel like it's a real referee or real person making the decision. It just feels like a technological decision. And it doesn't actually change the controversy. It just pushes it to a different discussion. It's actually you're still going to have the same arguments about whether something was right or wrong. So it doesn't actually change that. And I think part of the game is, the decision is by the referee, and that should be fair to both sides. We've all seen when it isn't, of course, but I still don't think VAR really makes it any fairer. So, there's something to be said for having more information when you can hear referees making the decision. But I don't think the technology is really I don't think that it's making the game better. It just pushes the decision to a different discussion.
And that double celebration as well, I just find that very strange.
Yeah, it slows the game down and actually takes the heat out of some of the celebrations that you have, because you never know, I'm going to celebrate, but actually maybe it won't be allowed. It kind of dampens the celebration down a little bit.
And here's a thought as well. I don't know if they're doing this or if, but I know they did it in the World Cup, but sometimes those decisions can take 3, 4, 5 minutes. Are they adding that 5 minutes on? I don't think they are. So sometimes those decisions are taking a big chunk of the game away as well, while the clock's going on. At least in rugby, they stop that, have to make the decision or put it back or whatever. Maybe that's something we could introduce to make things a little bit more honest as well. But I'd also think the fact that in the World Cup, when they were adding 5, 10, 15 minutes on like they were, you actually got 45 minutes of football instead of about 20.
Yeah, I agree. I think the stopping the time in rugby is an interesting concept. I'm not sure. I think it's worth looking at for football, actually, because I think that does help to stop some of that, excessive added on time at the end. It's a bit more manageable. But just to go back to one of the questions you mentioned a moment ago, which I didn't really answer, I do think it's really important that players respect the referees. I really do. My goodness, fans can have opinions about referees, but the players on the pitch must demonstrate that respect. I really do think that's important. I think in rugby, it's a different sport. You can't really compare the two. But at lower leagues and at the weekends, and Sunday league and kids football and kids sport, you just can't have people shouting at volunteer referees at that end of the game. That's really bad, because really they're facilitating the game for all of us. But that said, for goodness sake, these referees have got to get the decisions right in the first place, haven't they?
Well,
so,
both ways.
There's two sides to that coin, definitely.
Indeed. The thing is, Hester, I played rugby as well as football, and he's got to start at the kids' level, as you say. And the difference between the two sports, there's no difference in the referees, but the difference is, in football, from a very young age, you're taught and told to challenge the referee about everything. If you kick the ball off, you claim that it's your ball. Whereas in rugby, you're told to say yes, sir, no, sir, to him, and just let the referee ref the game. So I believe that's where it needs to start at grassroots. And like you're right in saying, I've got a grandson just started playing it. And some of these people watching are ridiculous, to be quite honest. What they do
obviously, I've got my 6-year-old now, Harry, who's playing a decent level of football, and they every month they do a no talking, even at the training sessions. Literally, the staff have to talk quietly. They try and it's to encourage two things: the kids to be more vocal and talk and organise things themselves, and 2, to stop us being so vocal towards coaches, referees, etc. Yeah, I agree, but it's the people that have gone before us that have caused that problem, and it's a real shame.
But also, Gary, also obviously the young kids look at the football on the telly, and when they see everyone and anyone surrounding the referee because he's made a decision, it gets into their head, and they try to reciprocate what they've seen by doing it on a Sunday morning sometimes, and it's ridiculous, really. But
funny you say that. About 2 weeks ago, my little boys' team, no one has mentioned it. No one had mentioned it to them. No one had said it. They did a little huddle. The 4 or 5 of them, I did a little huddle before the game started. I was like, where'd they get that from? And no one had mentioned it. No one had said anything else. They'd obviously all seen it before the games. Did a little 5-man huddle, had a little chat amongst themselves, and won 4-0. But it's like unbelievable. They're just like, as you say, they're watching and learning. But no, it's clever. Hester, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and we will definitely get you on because I'm sure there's a lot more behind what you're saying there, and even to just scratch the surface of the Burnige history is interesting, and hopefully we can get more out of that in the near future.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. Bye, Hester, and thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers, Hester. Bye.
Thanks, Hester.
Well, we'll take a break there and listen to Debbie Julians, a friend of Hester's, talking with Harvey Brown about the Lions Food Hub.
Let's hear from Harvey Brown.
Have you heard of the Lions Food Hub? That Millwall Lioness, Kelly Webster, is involved. Don't forget to help the Lions Food Hub if you can. Thank you.
As Harvey said, they need your support. If you can help, and you can make a one-off or a regular monetary donation at Banquet, that is BANKUET. You will find them online. Insert www.banquet.co.uk/Lions Food Hub into your browser. I'll say that again. www.banquet.co.uk/Lions Food Hub. And the Lions Food Hub is all one word. On match days, you can make food and toiletry donations at the Lions Food Hub, which is opposite the 1885 bar at the Cold Blow Lane end of the ground. Alternatively, you can also contact the team via the Lions Food Hub Twitter or Facebook sites.
Thanks, Debbie. I'm your host, Gary, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Pat, Dave and Ted. More than 2 years have passed since the Lions Food Hub came into being, which for us was bittersweet celebration. We did not expect food hubs to become permanent. Nonetheless, Kelly and Ellen Webster and all the Hubster team, their sponsors and those that donate are making us such a difference in supporting those that are at risk. You can help them if you can, as this country sadly remains in a sea of spiralling prices. We are all looking forward to when Saturday comes against Huddersfield, but in the meantime, here are a few matters of interest for Millwall fans.
You heard from our sponsored Lionesses, Jade Keogh and Grace Seeley, at the beginning of the show. So why not sponsor a Lionesses kit like us to help them get back to where they belong? If you're an organisation, you can get a fantastic exposure opportunities for your business, just like Victory Goalkeeper Gloves and Andy Rothe of Impetus Women's Football, Megan J and Lola Baxter, Gianluca Sardi, as mentioned, ourselves. On top of seeing your name on the club website, you'll be able to enjoy a range of benefits. To see what this might cost, get in touch with the Lionesses by emailing Kelly Webster on kwebster@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again, that's KWEBSTER@millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk.
Next Friday, Bethany returns to host the show with a panel of Jeff, Phil and Stan. There will be a couple of guests and a review of the Huddersfield game. Additionally, Dockers Day will return for the first time since 2019 for a game against Huddersfield Town at the Den this Saturday, the 18th of March. Phil Coleman will be there with his teammates of the FA Youth Cup winning side of 1978-79 to meet and greet the Dockers, former Dockers from the London Docks, who had a great tradition in following Millwall and will be guests on the day.
The Millwall Community Trust traineeship programme is targeted at young people between the ages of 16 to 18 and 19 to 24 from across London and will focus on providing them with the transferable skills needed to secure an apprenticeship, training or employment upon conclusion. The learner will progress during a 12-week programme through a rounded approach to learning, equipping the trainee with vital skills and knowledge to succeed following the course. Those on the programme will be able to access work experience placements and various qualifications from an NCFE in employability skills to functional skills in maths and English. The programme has various starts throughout the year, so please register your interest using the link below and we will get in touch. Email the Education and Employment Manager, John Scarborough, at jscarborough@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll repeat that. It's JSCARBOROUGH@millwallcommunity.org.uk.
Don't forget, you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us Talking team, bring reports from our games both home and away for both the Lions and Lionesses, and also updates on Millwall Community Matters too on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM or on their website. Additionally, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, Tumblr and Twitter and other social media sites and all popular podcast sites too. Thanks and good night, Dave.
Good night, all.
Thanks, Dave. And good night, Pat.
Good night, all.
And thanks and good night, Ted.
Good night, Gary, and one and all.
Finally, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Good night and many thanks for listening to our No One Likes Us Talking team. And as I mentioned earlier, don't sweat the small stuff and keep yourself safe.